Oh, I misplayed this one. I should have made you go first so we could end here with you going first. Um, Gosh, professional regrets. So,
Nope.
damn it.
This is fun.
If you didn't catch me, I would just, oh my God.
I love this. This is fun.
Oh,
Ready?
my brain is
Ready.
firing great here. Okay. Okay. So, relationship regrets. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or therapy. Our full disclaimer can be found in the show notes. Enjoy the show. Welcome, everyone, to the Man Up Together podcast. My name is Alex Peskin. I'm here with my lifelong friend and co-host, Bobby Jacobs. Bobby, today we are going to talk about regrets. So start thinking about all of the horrible mistakes you've made in your life. We'll get into that. We're just so glad to have everyone here to be able to watch, listen, however you consume this.
I got some feedback from some coworkers that I didn't know were listening. So appreciate you listening to the podcast. So thank you. If you have any thoughts, comments, topics, what have you, after today, regrets, and I regret all that time I spent on that podcast. Really appreciative of everybody that's spending the time to do this with us. So thank you. Really appreciate that.
And one thing you can do to show your support for us, it's free and it's easy and it takes a few seconds, is to just hit subscribe. We would love to be able to continue to grow and continue to have more and more people be able to access this. And the more people who are subscribed, the higher up that we will rank and
more visibility.
and it will become easier for other people. So we just really appreciate that. But we also do just appreciate that you guys are coming and listening. So hope you enjoy this one as well.
Yeah.
So the other night, I got invited to a World Cup watch party.
All right.
And I was thinking, I'm going to be exhausted. But I thought, you know what? This is a cool thing that World Cup is here and the US was playing. And so I got to go hang with some buddies and watch the US get the W.
It was a good match. So I was coming home from a work trip and I was on an older plane. Thanks, Delta. We landed in 9:43, I think. I remember this very specifically. And the match started at 9:00. So I immediately landed, put my phone on, gotta love YouTube TV, and I was able to watch. And I as we were walking off the plane, the U.S. scored a goal. I think it was
The
a goal
stoppage time goal.
Yeah, right at the half. And I did one of these, yes! And everybody was around me. And there was one other guy who was also watching on the YouTube. We did one of these high fives between people. And it was a lot of fun. What I love about the World Cup is a couple of things. I think it's fun. Do I watch soccer throughout the rest of the year? I would say infrequently, but during the World Cup, man, it's like just exhilarating to see it.
An interesting experience because it's here. I was watching, and when I watch sports, I'm usually trying to watch the team that I like. And so home games, like the crowd is cheering at the same time. Obviously away games are different. And I was watching this and whenever I was excited, the crowd also cheered. And ahead of this thought, I was like, oh, they like the same team as me. I was like, oh, it's the whole entire country's team.
They're like the same country as me, right? Yep.
It took me a second for my brain to fully calibrate what was going on there.
I love that. No, and I think the other thing that's really cool too is obviously there's a lot of polarizing things happening in the world right now and in the country. I think for the World Cup, it allows us maybe to come together, and it is great to see the camaraderie and the coming together of people to root on the team. And so that's a lot of fun. Because it's in the States, I really wanted to go to a match. And so a couple of weeks ago, I went on to StubHub or wherever, and I was like, I'm going to go find tickets to a match in Atlanta. Nope. Thousands of dollars for tickets.
Yeah.
There was one match, and it was teams that I have zero connection to from
only a few $100s or something.
Yeah, they were still $600 a ticket.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't justify it.
Like a team you wouldn't root for.
I wouldn't know who to root for, right?
True.
So, but it was cool. I will say I was reading, I didn't watch it at all today, but Curacao, first time in the World Cup in 2026. And they scored a goal against Germany.
I love that this is the thing they focus on. They scored a goal. What was the score of the game?
They lost 7-1. Don't worry about it. But they scored their first ever World Cup goal for a tiny little nation. I think there's less than 500,000 people live in Curacao versus Germany, who I think has won the World Cup multiple times, right? So still pretty cool for those guys to get out there and do that. In 1996, when the Olympics were in Atlanta,
hmm
so Olympics a little different than the World Cup, but
Only a little.
international soccer. My grandpa took my brother and I to a soccer match that was happening for some reason in South Florida at the old Orange Bowl. So way long ago. And it was women's soccer, Jamaica versus Brazil. And it was such a cool experience. And
That's kind of
I'll always
cool.
have that be my World Cup moment,
Yeah.
if you will. So
International soccer
there you
movement.
go. There you go.
That's
So
really cool.
we have another month or so of the World Cup
Yeah,
between
for
now
sure.
and then. We'll see some things that happen and maybe some things that kind of resonate with our message a little bit, which I think is going to be cool.
That's true. That'll be good to think about a little bit.
Yeah.
Some other things that happened this weekend might be something that can get us into
Why do I like this?
for this week, because this week for Why Do Men Like This, we're going to talk about why do men like yard work?
Landscape work, any of the things that
Why do men
Yeah.
like outdoor work that is meant for their property or
Yeah.
their house? Who knows?
we can just broaden grass and trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do men like yard work? So what you're alluding to, I'll give the background for everybody. I texted Alex earlier this week. I said, hey, want to go on the boat this weekend? Or we're going to go on the boat this weekend?
Saturday.
On Saturday, to be clear.
Mhm.
We're going to go on the boat on Saturday. And for whatever the reason, we got connected afterwards. And I said, well, it's okay. We didn't go on the boat today. We're going to go on the boat tomorrow. And then I decided to tell you, well, the why. The why was because I decided to get caught up in a yard work project. To be clear, one that did not need to be done this weekend.
I heard that from someone else actually today.
Did
that
not
it
need to be done on
done.
Saturday, to the point that we had to have in-depth conversations. My girls woke up. It was amazing. Yesterday morning, my girls woke up before we did, came into our bedroom and woke us up. They were both in their bathing suits. So we had to have a little bit of a conversation. We made it all better. We went to the pool after the yard work was over.
Mhm.
But yeah, so why do men like yard work? Why do I like yard work?
Yeah, let's start there.
Let's start there for a couple of reasons. One, for me, I like exercising. I saw a reel the other day that said Apple Watches need to have a setting that's not walking or running. It needs to have a yard work exercise setting.
Sure.
So when I do yard work, I consider it my exercise just a little bit. I came in, I was sweaty. I am very sore from doing said yard work. I enjoy the beautifications. I'm a big before and after guy. So I'll take a picture of the yard before and then I take a picture after
Nice.
to let myself see that. It's a way for me to escape in a creative way. So I'm not a very artistic, creative person. You're never going to catch me drawing, painting a picture, singing a song, any of that kind of stuff. Man, I'll design the hell out of some yard area. So I don't know. What about you? What are your thoughts?
I do have to say that driving up tonight, the sun was still out a little bit, hits the lawn nicely.
My yard looks good.
And I'm just looking and saying that it's a really nice bunch of grass you got there.
That's the nicest compliment I've ever appreciated.
And it's perfectly mowed, all of that. My yard, we have a special type of grass. I don't know if you've heard this.
It's a unique one.
MGS. Have you heard about MGS?
I don't think so.
It's called mowed green stuff.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, so you have
grass.
Fescue, is it? Or
Zoysia.
Zoysia.
I just learned that. There was a new movie.
Okay, yeah. I tried to
grasses.
grow a little bit of that one once also. Out of seed. Good luck. Yeah, Zoysia, Fescue, whatever it is. We have MGS. It's just probably whatever used to grow, as well as the maybe 90 different species of weeds
I love it.
that grow in
But
our
you know what's
yard.
cool about mowed green stuff is that once you mow it, it looks really good.
It does.
Right?
Yeah. It's just, if you only look in that 3 or 4 day period of time where it's all exactly right and you don't look too close, you're like, oh, it's just a regular lawn. Come back 3 more days later, there's a few things sticking straight up and there's flowers.
The variable growth rate that happens on the green stuff
everywhere. Yeah. There's these wide leaf things that sprout out that are horrible. And yeah, that when you mow it, it all looks kind of okay.
Can I make a confession?
Yeah.
So I think our Instagram reels and our algorithm says more about us than I think we want it to. There are multiple people that are constantly showing up on my Instagram reels. I catch myself watching people mowing their grass, fixing brown spots, I don't know what it is.
This is
but
an
it is-
excellent confession. I'm
it
so
is-
glad to know. This
it is
one of
something
your
really powerful there
guilty pleasures.
that I get to see all the time. And I'll give credit where credit's due. My wife is big help in the yard. And there are certain things that she loves to do. She will push the lawnmower. She enjoys
Nice.
that. I'm not a huge fan of weeding.
Mm.
She'll get into weeding, which is good. So let's move to why is it a good thing? We talked about the exercise component. I mean, especially
Yeah, that's one thing that I feel like I get out of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially in Georgia in June where we are now. I mean, it's warm out. There's some exercising
It's
that's
some
happening.
for real cardio.
Right? It gives us time with my wife. Oftentimes we'll do the yard when the girls are napping. We're moving past the napping period of our child raising at this point. But we would do the yard when the girls were napping. So it was time that we would be able to spend together,
That's nice.
albeit with AirPods in, listening to our own podcast. But hey, we were together.
Yeah, for me, I'm out there with my headphones on, just kind of like
You're in your space.
moving along. Yeah, I just feel like it's very free
Mhm.
and there's not, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do right now
Right.
and just keep turning the lawnmower or trimming the hedges or whatever it is. It's good. Another thing that I think is good about it is it's significantly more expensive to have people
Oh, yeah.
maintain your lawn if you're not going to do it. And that's the reason that I started in the first place. But that for sure is one of the calculations I always make when I'm like, okay, maybe this
100%.
isn't a day I want to be out here, but I'm going to do that. And I remember, I think I calculated it. However much money I spent on all of our lawn equipment would take 3.5 months of a lawn person for it to be worth it. And
Yeah.
so after that 4th month, it was
was
worth
free.
it. Yeah.
No,
So-
yeah, I get that. I remember when we moved into this house, our realtor was telling us most people in the neighborhood, they just use this so-and-so service
Yeah,
for
it's
their
like
yard.
$200 a month.
Right. And I'm like, well, first off, I don't want to spend that much money. And second off, like, no, it's my jam.
Yeah.
I've got a whole shed full of yard tools out there. I want to use them.
So
yeah.
there, that's good. I think being outdoors also
Yeah.
has got to be a positive in this one as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. What's bad about doing yard work? It takes time away from other things, right? You talk
That's
about
true.
things that you prioritize. It took time away from the boat on Saturday. Although we went out Sunday, go out today, which was a lot of fun. Some people talk about yards are unnatural and you should have the natural appearance for nature and all the things. Listen, I get it.
So that's anyone doing anything to the yard, not
Right.
even if you do it.
Not
but
even
that's
if I
like
do it
you
myself,
hire
right?
someone.
Yeah. So if having a manicured lawn would be an unnatural thing.
Sure, I guess that's
Mowed green stuff is more natural, right? So your
well,
MGS yard.
not mowed greens,
Not- there you go.
letting the weeds just outgrow the house.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a house in our neighborhood. The owners do a great job. It's very well maintained. Their yard is like a nature conservancy. It's certified natural, or however you want to
Okay.
call it. And
Like attracts the right bugs.
yeah,
and
there's
stuff.
lots of butterflies and bunny
That's
rabbits
cool.
and all that that are around there. So yeah, yard work. I love
Nice.
yard work.
Yeah, me too. I think thinking about another negative though is I wonder if sometimes the motivation to get out there, whether it's myself or other people, is a little bit of like to get away from
Oh, sure.
other stressful things. And right, like sometimes it's nice to be in that peaceful space. But I wonder too if it's also a little bit of I'm avoiding something else that I need to be doing. And
I can't say that I've gone
Yeah.
out to do the yard once, twice, 5 times to avoid maybe at the end of nap time. It's like, oh, sorry, I'm going to go do the
I
yard.
was going to do that today.
You take care of the kids, or you take care of the shopping and the dinner making. I'm going to be out here in the yard doing this.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I agree with you. I think there's that avoidance, if you will.
Yeah.
So-
And then another thing that I think about too, and this might be a little bit more me centric, there are things that maybe aren't best done alone in your yard, like chopping down a rotting tree in your backyard with an axe when nobody's home. And I, I remember I had a healthy tree nearby,
okay.
farther away from the house, and I tied the trees together so that when it fell, it wouldn't fall on my house. And
Smart.
like that means that, right? But like if you have to take those precautions, it's probably not a job a non-professional or at least one person alone should be doing.
Yeah.
I think I've done things like that maybe a little
Have you
bit
ever-
too often.
Have you ever gotten hurt doing yard work?
So I don't think I've ever gotten hurt, like cut myself or anything
Mhm.
like that. I bet that's probably maybe why this is not so good. But I have become slightly incapacitated. My back,
Mhm.
the way it feels for the next several weeks, and I can't do much else. Those kind of things for
Yeah.
sure have happened to me.
Yeah. So I'll give you a story. When I was younger doing yard work, I was in high school, let's call it 15. I was weed eating our yard in South Florida. And you know this about me, nobody else does. I don't wear shoes a lot.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing shoes when I was weed eating after my dad had repeatedly told me to wear shoes while doing yard work. Anyway, y'all can see where the story's going. Right between two of my toes, decided to meet the weed eater. So I remember my dad, we went to the hospital, got my stitches, all the things that was the impetus. I have yard shoes now. I wear my sneakers, my old sneakers,
Did you wear shoes when you did yard work every time after that?
every time. Since
All
then,
right.
it is so.
So that was what it took
I'm
for you to
teachable.
get it. Yeah. Teachable. There's a real hard lesson that
That's
might
it.
get you to learn.
That's
but
it. So yeah, once the sneakers get old, they go to the yard shoes. Once they're too old for yard shoes, they kind of sit for a little bit and then they get
Yep.
thrown away.
Yep, I love that. I think I have the same thing.
There's a good
Yeah,
rotation.
my yard and clay
Mhm.
softball field
There you
shoes
go.
are the same.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's interesting because thinking about this right now, I feel like so many things we've talked about are converging,
Mhm.
right?
Oh,
We're
yeah.
talking about yard work, but we're also talking about dangerous axes and weed eaters and things like that. We're talking about being dumb men, like not wearing your shoes because you
'Cause
decided
I don't wear shoes.
I don't care what my dad has to. I guess we talked about dads a lot too, and advice. So that's a
Full
good one.
circle.
Yeah. And so I feel like we can just add one more here
Okay.
now because today we're going to talk about regrets. And so I feel like that was a good way to end this, talking about maybe a regret you have of the time that you sliced open your foot.
I can't say I don't regret it because it hurt to the point that I remember we went to a teaching hospital because it was just the closest
Yeah.
emergency room. And I will never forget the doctor.
Wait, let me get some people in here to watch this.
So he walks in and then he turns around, he goes and he grabs a couple students and he goes, "You're going to have to watch this because this is going to hurt really bad." And I was like, you could have had that conversation in the hallway. Didn't have to have it in the room with a 15-year-old.
What you didn't see after that is your dad slipped him a 20 because he's like, make sure this
100%.
dumb kid knows what he did.
100%. And when it was just so funny because I guess that we'll have to ask your sister who listens. In the ER, there's like a board where all the nurses write, like, room 1 is broken arm, room 2 is whatever. And apparently room 3, wherever I was, had kid cut by lawnmower. And which thankfully it wasn't a lawnmower
that would be
because there
nasty.
wouldn't have been toes left, right? And so I remember the nurses all came in and they were all like underwhelmed, I think, by what they saw.
Boo.
But then at the same time, they were like, "Oh yeah, he cut himself because he's an idiot with a weed eater." So
Yeah.
anyway, so I love it. This is a good why do men like this?
For sure. All right. So men out there, make sure you're doing
We've covered a lot
your
of good
lawn work
topics.
for all the right reasons and wearing shoes when you're out there and careful with your back, but it's just in our blood.
That's it.
Somewhere. So let's talk about regrets today.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good if we can split it into 3 things like we always do. So we're going to talk about some sort of personal regret.
Mhm.
We'll do one professional regret, and then let's do one relationship regret. And doesn't have to be your current relationship. It
Sure.
could be about relationships in
In general.
Yeah.
Got it. I love it.
All right. So the reason that we came up with this today was because of something that was going through my head. So I'll go first with a personal regret.
Let's do it.
Our neighborhood has a pool and we host swim team and have meets, and we go to the swim meets sometimes. When I go to the swim meets, I'm always finding myself thinking, look how much fun they're having. Look, there are so many people on each team and they're all cheering. And I imagine because of the amount of time they spend with each other, they're all great friends and they're all doing something that gets them in very good shape and can build confidence for them. And I was thinking, with how much I swam growing up in South Florida, why did I never do anything related to swimming, much less be on a swim team? And I was thinking how much of an opportunity it could have been to build friendships, build some more physical health. But also, I think the thing that stands out most for me is the idea of confidence, like
Hmm.
a place to build confidence. We've talked about my history with baseball, I think, before, but I love baseball. I theoretically loved playing baseball, and I did for many, many years. And I was not good at baseball. So it was something I liked to do and lowered my confidence at the same time somehow. And so it all very confusing. And one thing I think about is I wish there was someone in my life who, whether they tried this or not, was able to convince me.
Sure.
What if you tried something else? Not necessarily saying just don't do this, but there could be like, you can keep doing this and let's try something else. And you'll see how that goes. You'll decide which one you want to keep. It could have been anything. Could have been a swim team. Was that a thing in South Florida? I imagine it
It
was.
was. I was on some team.
Okay,
Growing
so
up.
you had a
Yeah.
swim team.
Yeah.
And it could have been tennis. It could have been chess. It could have been anything.
Any number of things.
That,
Yeah.
and again, I don't remember everything that happened to me as a child, but I wonder, I just wish it was convinced
Sure.
to me to give other things a try, because I imagine finding at least a little bit of success in one thing would have said to me, oh no, this is better than baseball. Because again, I theoretically liked playing baseball,
Yeah.
and it was also a struggle. I can remember when there were rain delays and we weren't sure we were going to play. I had a little bit of a sense of like slight
A little
relief
bit of relief.
and then slight anxiety of what if it stops raining soon enough that we get to play. And so when I think about that, I imagine if there was anything I was fine at, I would have said, you know what? I'll take a
Yeah.
season off of baseball and I'll try
See how
swim,
that works out.
tennis, chess, anything.
Right.
And so I
I
don't know.
like
It's
that.
just something that I regret. Like, what would it have been like for me to grow up feeling a
Right.
little more confident about something
Yeah.
that I do, something that I connect with other people about, something that people watch me do. And so just,
And what
it's
other
fun.
areas of your life would that have impacted in a positive
Yeah.
light? Yeah.
That's actually an interesting thing to think about.
I
too.
got a question for you. I'll share a regret as well, but
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So as I think about you talking about regrets, and I've kind of noodled on it, is regret a form of grief in the sense of you're grieving something that didn't happen, could have happened, should have happened?
Mm.
Like I'm trying to maybe define regret a little bit.
Yeah. Connecting regret and grief. I think that's very interesting. When I think about that, I think regret is some form of unresolved grief, right? And
Ooh, okay.
maybe we don't necessarily fully resolve the things that we grieve,
Sure.
many of the things that we grieve, but I think regret is probably an early stage of grief, right?
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, oh, that was a bummer, but now I understand why. And like, I think they probably are very connected.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those like I wish I would have done this, but it's deeper than I wish. It's like I wish I would have, and why? Like, and
Yeah.
what did I miss out on?
Right.
Because it didn't happen.
What would my life have been like? What
Yeah.
would that experience have been like? Anything. This thing that I cannot do now, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about is I cannot be on a child's swim team
Correct.
and not get some really weird looks. And so
But
that
even
wouldn't
there-
build my confidence either. Now.
That's right. Totally. Yep. So no, I appreciate that. That's an interesting. Again, it's one of the you can't go back and change it. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes regret maybe a little bit different from. I wish I would have done something differently. You
Yeah.
know, because there's some of those things. A mistake is something that you can maybe fix or do
Right.
differently. A regret is something that you don't have the opportunity maybe to fully change. Maybe that's a differentiation. So I'll give you my regret, personal regret. It's a regret I'll say I didn't realize until recently, and it was a conversation with my mom. My grandmother was getting older. She had dementia, Alzheimer's, a lot of just really at the time for me scary conditions that didn't. My grandmother was not the same person. And I made a conscious decision that I was going to limit the amount of time that I visited her
Mm.
because I was uncomfortable in the situations with my grandmother with her mental state.
Mm.
And it was because I was uncomfortable with the constant reminders of who I was and the constant conversations and challenges that she had with her memory and the constant challenges that my mom was having with her mom that I wasn't there to support my mom. And so my regret in that whole situation goes back kind of this all encompassing of, I do wish that I would have made it less about me
Mhm.
and spent more time with my grandmother during the very late stages of her life, not only for me, but for my grandmother. I'm sure there would have been a positive, hopefully a positive for her, but then also for my mom. And I know that my absence from certain things later on in my grandmother's life was hard on my mom. So I regret and I don't regret it because my mom has brought it up to me. You
Sure.
know, my mom brought it up to me and allowed a realization to happen.
Uh,
Right. And it's something that I have not thought about deeply. But the easiest level, I regret missing time that I could have spent with my grandmother. Right.
mm,
Yeah. She wasn't the same person. She didn't have the same mental capacity that she had had all my life growing up, when this amazing woman that she was. But then there's deeper reasoning behind that too. And so that's a personal regret I have. It's been a relatively recent one. So I think I'm still kind of working through, like, what does this all look like? How do I maybe reconcile some of these things?
makes me want to think about what makes something a regret
Yeah.
in another way as you're talking about this as well. Mine and yours, I think there's something very different about them. Obviously, mine is much deeper. If I'm talking about
Of
wanting
course.
to learn the backstroke when I was 8 and you're like just talking about something lame,
Weird.
but thinking about what could become a regret,
Mhm.
I think there's a split of something that happened to me or something that I did that impacted someone else.
Ooh, I like that.
And I like the way that you can kind of differentiate that and how you brought this up. I did something for me
Mhm.
because it was really uncomfortable
Yeah.
to see my grandma in a way that made me sad and made me maybe miss her. Gosh, talk about grief. This
Right.
this for sure
Exactly.
brings that in a lot of ways. We can grieve people while they're alive, and
Right.
that feels like that was happening. But then the regret becomes when I was taking care of me, did my grandma need something more?
Right.
Did my mom need something more? And the way I impacted them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder.
And to be clear, like, I think there's some regrets that you have that are based off of maybe decisions that are made, but not conscious decisions. There's things that just happen in your life. To be clear, this was a very conscious decision I made. Who I was at the time, where I was at the time, and what I needed personally at the time, that was a decision that I made.
Yeah.
Now, where I am now, I think I'm at a different place, and I regret that decision. And I regret the time lost in that decision, the
Yeah.
conversations lost, the connection lost, not just with my grandmother. The connection lost with my mom at a time when maybe she needed more of that connection. She needed more of that support, and she didn't have that from me. But my mom and I have a good relationship. We have a very close relationship, and I know there was probably some of that connection
Sure.
that was lost there. So yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing in
I think
that
that's
way.
that vulnerable word we
Yeah,
circle
it for
back to
sure
every
is.
so often.
Yeah.
So yeah, so personal regrets, I think they come in maybe many shapes and colors and sizes and all the things. There's a lot of regrets I think we have in life. I think it's weird to think that people have no regrets. I know that
People say that.
people do say that.
Wait, actually, maybe this is a good time for you to share a little clip that you showed me before.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about this
So,
clip that you
we
shared.
are the Millers, a great, great funny movie. If you haven't seen it, it's an easy watch. At one point, there's a gentleman who comes into the life of the younger
I think just
daughter.
to pause here, I think we have to unpack your use of the word gentleman in a future
Uh-huh.
episode because you use it in very interesting moments throughout our episodes. So, anyways, I'm going to put that one away for later.
But he comes in and he has a tattoo on his neck that says "No regrets." It's spelled incorrectly.
There'll be
There
something
you go.
now if you want to see
Anyway,
it
we are the
visually.
Millers. No regrets.
You have no regrets?
Dad?
No? Like not even a single letter?
But I think there's that concept of, like, you said people do have that mindset where they say, I have no regrets. I don't know how that, to me, having no regrets is almost more selfish than having a regret because you were being selfish. We talked about apologies a little bit ago. Um, Having no regrets almost kind of comes into the whole mindset of, I don't need to apologize for anything ever in my life. Not saying you need to apologize for your regrets, but I think there's a reflection that happens in our lives as we move through life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not having any regrets ever. I just can't.
Right.
Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. I think it's maybe, it's probably more aspirational and
Yeah. I think, and
Yeah.
it is aspirational to say, I want to have no regrets because I want to be making the best decisions. I want to be having the best relationships, conversation, whatever you want to say. That's awesome. And if you can do that, all the power to you.
But I think there's
But we all
something
make
valuable.
mistakes.
Yeah, there's something valuable about regrets. If you name it a regret, you can acknowledge this is probably something I want to learn from
Agreed.
also.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be bad that you have a regret. It could just be something that you're saying, I admit this went differently than
Yeah.
if I did it again, maybe I would want it to go.
Right.
How can I incorporate that into who I am and what I want to happen next?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a horrible thing to have regrets.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of just making sense of regrets and starting kind of with a personal regret with this. So now we're going to move over to a professional regret. You want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first on this one. And this one is, I would say, a regret that is maybe not something that is like deep and cutting to me, but something that like I always regret not doing that. Right.
Oh.
So growing up, and even to today, I have a fascination with aviation, whether it be commercial aviation, military aviation, what have you. It's just something that I absolutely love. My family will watch me. If I hear a plane or a helicopter, I'll do one of these out the window to see what it is. The airport before a flight's never boring for me. So one of my regrets is that I never pursued that further. I love what I do,
Mhm.
and I have a humongous passion for what I do, and I don't ever want to change what I do. But every time I get on a plane, I'm like, how cool would it be to sit all the way in the front of the plane? And so I regret that I never pursued that a little bit deeper. Did I never maybe went and took one or two classes in aviation in college, or maybe tried to get involved in aviation in some capacity as a younger kid? If I think about a professional regret,
Yeah.
that would probably be the place where I would go is, should I maybe have done that? Now I looked at it out of high school. I looked at joining the military and pursuing aviation in that direction. And at that time, there was still an eyesight thing in military. Again, I don't know all the rules, all that kind of stuff. But I wear contact lenses.
Is that
so
not a thing anymore?
I think there's loosening of rules, and then there's an ability to get LASIK. And again, I don't want to speak to the changes because I don't know them all. I know this is one of your one of your things as well. But there was this like I couldn't go and fly fighter jets because I had contact lenses at the time, and so. Or maybe I should have just again furthered that conversation to the recruiting office with the
Yeah.
recruiter, and he'd have been like, "No, it's fine. You can have contact lenses. It's all good." Regret maybe not pursuing some of that a little bit deeper, for sure.
Yeah. I like that. So I think we know where we're going to find you in retirement now. You're going to be
I'm gonna fly something.
flying
Yeah,
planes.
flying
That'll be
something.
fun.
That'll be model planes if my wife has anything to say about it. But
Good
yeah.
point. Yeah. This isn't my regret, but in freshman year in college, for I think 2-ish weeks, thought I was going to join the Marines and fly airplanes.
I love it.
One of the main reasons that I didn't is because they said, "Oh, you wear contacts? We really can't do that."
Yeah,
And so this one little different thing, we might be sitting
Somewhere
here
else.
as retired pilots having a podcast about
Right?
something else right now. So
Absolutely.
interesting.
Would have been cool.
I guess not retired. We're not old enough. We're not old enough for something.
love it.
All right. Yeah. So when I think of professional regrets for me, it goes in like a million different directions. I have a lot of different little
Sure.
regrets, but I'm not sure if I have one big I guess if I had to have one big regret, which this is going to sound kind of good, actually. The one bigger regret I have is that I didn't do more research into exactly what it was I was signing up for when I applied for my graduate school program.
Okay.
It was when I got there that I realized, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. So how bad of a regret can that
worked
be?
out.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of goes to a bigger overarching regret of I wish I was a little bit more clear about things growing up and worked harder in lots of different aspects.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up because you're not alone in that, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think I've told you, I remember a conversation with my mom of like, I have a useless degree. No, I have 2 useless degrees. And thankfully I was able, anyway. So I think that we may have these decisions that we have to make as young developing people. Like one of the hardest things I think that we ask society to do is a bunch of 18-year-olds, 17 and 18-year-olds graduating high school. It's, hey, figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life and make that decision today, because if you change your mind,
Yeah.
it's going to cost a lot of money and a lot of time later on when you change it. But you have to make a decision on the rest of your life today. Like,
Right. And so I
nuts.
did, and I
Yeah.
said, well, I want to be a doctor. So I'll be a biology major because that's what you have to do when you're a doctor.
Right.
I'm like, oh, this is really hard. I also like psychology. I'll become a psychology major. Like, as I'm a psychology major, I have to then decide what I want to do
Right.
with that. And I think we've talked about this. I thought I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. And I wanted these things just because I looked it up one day and I was like, I think this is it, versus really getting deep into the difference in everything. Where again, there's a very large specific licensure that I'm a part of that had I gone through everything, I would have aimed for that
Right.
instead of accidentally shooting it. And that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, like little different regrets around professional like that as well. I regret that I didn't keep my New York Imagine Family Therapy license and just work virtually
Hmm.
when I moved to Georgia, because I was like, I don't want to do virtual therapy. Virtual therapy is never something I'm going to do. 3 years later, I spent an entire year and a half only doing virtual therapy because that's what the entire world did. And so now I do that and in-person therapy. I could have just continued to do
There
that
you
while I
go.
was here. I don't know. Again, just like understanding a little bit more of profession before jumping in and
Yep.
what it entails and making the decision consciously, knowing what all the options are.
I think that's a really good thing it's a good piece of advice to give people.
Yeah.
If there's any young people that are listening, that are kind of in the stage of like, what do I want to do when I grow up?
Yeah, there's more things than doctor, lawyer, accountant. I
Yeah.
promise you, look them up.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more, right? And there's a lot of things that'll fit your passion, and there's a way for you to fit your interests into a career. And so I think that that's a good thing. So personal regrets, professional regrets, and let's move into relationship regrets.
Yeah.
All right, I took the first one last. It's your turn.
Okay. Oh, I misplayed this one. I should have made you go first so we could end here with you going first. Gosh, relationship regrets. I think I could think of lots of different things in my relationship now. Things I regret because they would make me a better partner, better husband, all of that. I'm not sure how to put a finger on it exactly right now, so I'll just think of those and save them and tell her later
I love it.
because those are for her. Uh, but when I really think of relationships in general in my life, the place that I always go back to is in college.
Okay.
Where I very much prioritize romantic relationships and maintaining, and spending a lot of time in romantic relationships, sacrificing social relationships
Mhm.
because of it. Where I think a major benefit I got from romantic relationships was confidence and comfort in like having a partner and someone
Yeah.
who can kind of be there with me. But what I didn't get instead was deeper, closer male relationships.
Yeah.
I have several friends from college and from that time in my life. But when I think about the people I'm friends with, most of them are parts of bigger groups of male friends. And I can kind of fit into each of them as the peripheral friend,
Yeah.
but I'm not in that core and I don't feel connected to them as if I was in that core in that same way. And a lot of that is because I didn't spend as much time with them and I didn't make sure that that was something that was more important to me than spending time with girlfriends.
Yeah.
None of them are my wife right now. And
Right.
so it didn't actually even turn out into something that was an important lifelong investment or anything like that.
I appreciate you giving that a name because it really resonates. I was also growing up and into college and even today, like I'm not somebody who has hundreds of friends. I
Mhm.
have some very close relationships. I have very close friends. And as I look back on it, it was a very similar situation. I prioritized romantic
Mhm.
relationships and those sit in the way maybe of developing
Mhm.
more and closer friendships with my peers or with somebody. Anyway, I appreciate you giving that a name. And I appreciate the vulnerability there because that's a big thing to think about. And it's hard to, I think, sometimes look back and say, did I waste all that time? Did I waste all that
Right.
energy? I don't know that I would say maybe you wasted it because I think you learned
Yeah.
something from those
But right,
relationships.
but bringing back the idea of grieving,
Mhm.
it's what
What you missed
because
out
of
on.
this regret, what don't I have now?
Yeah.
Right? Thinking about just something sillier like being on a swim team growing up.
Right.
what would it have meant to grow up with a little bit more confidence and possibly more connections with people from my swim team, whatever that is, but also thinking, what did I lose by prioritizing romantic relationships in college? I think that one's actually even more clear. What I lost in that was people who I can be closer to now and people who can be bigger parts of my life right now and not having to spend all my time with you. Yeah.
Give me someone else hanging out. Well, I appreciate. I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate that. It makes it kind of brings a new, I would say, perspective to that too, and the choices that we made. And so, yeah, I appreciate that. I'll give for me a relationship. Wow, it's a hard one to say. Relationship regret.
No regrets.
No regrets. Relationship regret that I have now. I think some goes back to I regret the way that I deal with certain situations. So I'll bring this kind of together. I can be very quick to judgment and quick to anger. And I do that most of the time with people that I care deeply about. I get more frustrated and more angry with my wife than anybody else in my life. And I regret that that is the way that my brain operates because at least in my opinion, I shouldn't have that be the way that it goes. That she shouldn't be the one who has to absorb all of that blow. Not that anybody else should, right? But that's where my frustration is oftentimes most directed, is at the people that I care about most. And obviously where we sit today is my wife. And so I think that's the biggest regret I have is still not having found an outlet for that, not having worked on that, not having helped myself with that. So,
but you're sitting here talking about it right now. I feel like in some way that's a little bit
Don't you start therapizing over here.
Okay, fine.
But the first step is recognition, right?
No, but like, sure. But what is the point of what we're doing here? On a weekly basis, we're trying to make sense of what it could mean to man up instead of the man up of dirt on it. It's what if we actually tried to make sense of the challenges in our life in a way that can help us be stronger, better, wiser, whatever the right thing is. And that regret of yours sounds like it bounces around internally often, but being able to vocalize it and say it here, I think that's actually a really big deal. And
I appreciate that. Yeah. We're trying to change the narrative a little bit around. And so, yeah, it's 100% what we're talking about.
Yeah. I appreciate you naming that. And on that note, I actually have a bonus regret for you, Bobby.
Ooh, let's hear it.
Yes. So I have a regret that has come up very recently. Today, we decided to do an episode about regrets.
Okay.
And we broke it up into a personal regret, a professional regret, and a relationship regret.
Okay.
And so I brought up, I wish I was on a swim team. I wish I knew the profession that I love was the one I was going into, and something that happened in college.
Okay.
And the ones that you brought up were, I regret the impact I had on two people who I love and love me. I wish I had pursued something that was always really interesting to me throughout my life. And I wish I impacted the woman I love a little bit differently than I do on a daily basis. And so my regret is that, and I don't want this to come off in a bad way, but my regret is that vulnerability is not as smooth for me. And I actually would like to frame this a little bit different. I admire so much that you can sit here and think about these things and go into the core of like very real vulnerable places. And for me, if I were to redo this now, knowing what you were going to do, I might have done the same thing, but I could have picked deeper things. Regrets that I talked about when my dad died, ways that I could have been there for him, regrets in my personal relationship with my wife now, just like deeper, bigger regrets that I have that would have put my emotion and vulnerability more on the line.
Well, to be
as
clear,
we sat here and talked about this.
I appreciate you saying that. Your regrets, though, also were a window into things that are important to you, right? And so I don't want to minimize that either. And so,
I appreciate that, but I'm not looking to be rescued from this or anything because I actually think this is a really good thing for me to be acknowledging because I'm seeing, right, someone who's important to me and plays a big part in my life sitting here and putting your heart on your sleeve and naming things. And your mom listens to this
Right.
and your wife listens to this, and they're going to hear you not shying away from some of those deeper things. And for me, just the way that I process what are the answers I want to have,
Sure.
they stayed in a very safe space. And it just makes me want to continue wondering what are more ways that I can kind of double down on this idea of
Yeah.
what it really means to man up and to be vulnerable in a way that will benefit me and the people around me more as
Well,
well.
and I think that's where the together part is, right?
Mhm.
And I'll be honest with you, this is a new chapter in my life, the
Uh-huh.
vulnerability part of it for the people that you mentioned, my mom, my wife. I don't think though that these are words that they would have ever used to describe me.
Mm.
I think if I had to go back, like what's a turning point, like where when my dad died, I needed an emotional place to leave baggage and to leave things.
Mhm.
And that place for me was in a place of vulnerability. And I think it helped to start recognizing that the world isn't out there to judge me. And that was one of the things that helped a little bit. I
Yeah.
still have a lot of work to do,
Yeah, but you just
and a lot
named
of
something.
growth.
Yeah,
So yeah.
sure. Well, you just named something. You said the world isn't out there to judge me.
And
I
to be
don't
clear, the world judges us on a day,
Yeah.
everybody, all of us on a daily
And
basis. I don't
but
care
that
anymore.
but that's about them,
Right.
right? That's not about you.
Right.
And I think that it takes a certain level of bravery, confidence, vulnerability, however you want to frame it, to be able to do that. And just you naming it that way makes me kind of see this clear and like what do I need to be able to try and take
Sure.
those bigger risks? Maybe a part of it is understanding who is going to judge me.
Yeah.
Is it me? And
We're our own biggest
yeah.
critics. I care what other people think. I mean, I can say, oh, I don't give a shit what other people think. I do. I do.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, I very much care. Like, I'll give talks at work. I don't care if that person, I very much care if the people that
Of
I'm talking
course.
to
Yeah.
thinks what I was talking about. Right.
Yeah. But what are
But
you talking about right now, though? You're saying me doing something meaningful and brave. If people are going to judge me for that, then ooh,
right.
go judge me for that.
Right.
I'm going to judge myself differently because look how I'm standing up for the people I love in my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a cool thing.
Well,
And
good.
I appreciate you doing this with me and doing it in such a real and all in kind of way. And so I admire that very much.
I appreciate it. All right. Well, I think that wraps up regrets for us. All right. Well,
All right.
let's move into ask a therapist, ask a regular guy.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So today for Ask a Therapist, Ask a Regular Guy, we actually got a good one. And I feel like it is very applicable to what's happening in the world right now. Okay, so I'm just try and get as close as I can to the words that were sent to us here. Somebody wrote, a lot of their friends have been saying, I've been talking to ChatGPT about this lately. And it sounds like the way that they're saying it is, I'm doing this instead of talking to a friend or going to therapy. And their question was, what is the difference between going to therapist and talking to AI or ChatGPT about something?
Oof.
Because the cost is significantly different. So I'm glad that they brought that part in, right? It's for sure more cost effective to do something that you can do for a very small monthly or free
Right.
amount of money than to go to therapy. But is there like, how do you measure the benefit
Yeah.
there? I think that's a good one. So regular guy, what do you think? What's the
Well,
difference?
So this is a regular guy from a lot of levels. I have been an incredibly slow adopter of all things AI to the
Mhm.
point that I just last week had Copilot. I inputted an FAQ document that I had written,
Uh-huh.
and I had it write an email to a sales team using that information. I then rewrote the email that Copilot wrote for me, but I had
You
Copilot
started
write
with
the email,
something.
right? So I'm a slow adopter. That's the whole point of this. And I would say that would scare the ever loving crap out of me. I still think I think there are a lot of great tools for AI. I think that there's a lot of application for it. I still think that people that are trained in what they do every single day and have gone to school and can get continuing education and we call it practicing therapy or practicing medicine, because in my opinion, you're constantly working towards getting better at it. So I don't know. To me, that scares me. I hear all the time, radiologists is just as a field is going to go away because
Yeah.
AI is going to be able to do all radiology. Uh, Maybe not. Like there's nuances. Anyway, so I think the answer to me is I don't trust AI enough to be able to understand the nuances of human connection and conversation and facial features
Oh,
and
yeah.
all of the things. Like there's so much nonverbal communication, I think, is part of therapy. There's no way ChatGPT today, I don't think there is any way for ChatGPT to see nonverbal communication, and that would scare me. But I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Again, coming from a person who has been a very slow adopter of all
Sure.
things AI. So you are more of an adopter of
Yeah.
AI. And so coming from you, I'd love to hear your thoughts from a therapist and someone who's using a little more AI than I am.
Sure. Yeah. So I have messed around with AI a little bit more, just trying to see the things it can come up with when you have business ideas or anything like that. Actually, haven't used it in therapy at all. Not exactly sure how I would, but I have not yet.
I think there's also like the regulations, the HIPAA stuff. Anyway,
Yeah,
there's just
all
a
of it.
whole lot that scares me. Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
distract you,
yeah,
but yeah,
there is so much there. And so listen, you say I can't trust that yet. I could go into kind of the reasons where I would agree with you there.
sure.
The therapist's answer here for me is I think there's, again, a few different things. One, from what I understand, a lot of the AI chat stuff is built to make you like it, like feel it's going to come up with the answers that feel good for
Hmm.
you. I remember I actually was putting in early on when we had started the podcast. I put in, how can I make the podcast better? And I inputted a whole bunch of our episode transcripts and this and that. And one of the things it said is make shorter episodes. And I was like, oh, well, I kind of like long form podcasts. That's what I listen to. And so I said back, well, there are a lot of long form podcasts. Why is that the advice? And it said, after reconsidering, no, you're right. You should keep them long. There's this one and there's that. I was like, it didn't even answer my question. It just said, yeah. If this will make you feel better, that'll be good. And when we're talking about personal things and things that are challenges for us, if there is such a bias toward wanting to give you the answer that's going to make you feel better, that is so the opposite of what therapy is looking for. Therapy is looking for, why are you uncomfortable? How can we make sure you sit in that discomfort to actually make sense of it? Not to make you say, oh, well, AI told me I was right. And
That's a
so I
really
feel better about
That's an
that.
interesting point I've never even thought about. Is the answer you're getting from AI, it may make you feel better, but is it making you feel better for a selfish reason, or is it making you feel better for an actual resolution to a challenge you were bringing it? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's a lot of flaw, I think, to the type of relationship you'll be building. Like you said, there's not training, there's not practice. The way that it's building a relationship with you is also very different than a
Mhm.
therapist would build that relationship and the purpose of that relationship. Also, I don't know how much this still happens. I imagine it still does, but especially early on, it was called hallucinating. But basically, AI would make up answers and get things
Good.
wrong. And so, sure, maybe it's trained on all sorts of books and things about therapy and different ways to do therapy, but it also just gets things wrong sometimes. Don't love that
Nope.
for my
Nope.
therapist. I have not thought about the reading body cues and facial cues. That was a good point. That,
I
that
might put a little more emphasis on
yeah,
it. I'm a big like I
that's a
read
big
your
one.
face and there's some people that I know that I work with every day and they have recognized I have resting bitch face and I'm like, no, but I'm gonna read into that. And I feel like you don't like me because of your resting bitch face. And you're like, no, it's not you, it's me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, but AI wouldn't know that. Right?
Yeah.
Like
And I think that's huge, but I think it gets close to my biggest concern with AI as some version of therapeutic for people in the mental health world. One of the biggest tenets of the way that I do therapy is understanding how our nervous system is impacted and understanding the impact of having another nervous system present with you can have. It's called co-regulation.
Interesting.
I can help you regulate your nervous system in the way that I'm showing up with my nervous system. AI does not have a nervous system,
Right.
right? There's not something happening in its body that is helping it know what's going on with you and then showing up next to you and how you carry your body as a therapist, even virtually, right? The way that you can move closer to a screen, farther from a screen, the way you can show your face to them, the tone of voice that you use, this communicates something to their nervous system that I think no matter what happens in AI, that one is always going to be a deficit that it has.
Yeah.
And a major, major important thing for what truly effective and meaningful therapy can be.
Yeah.
And so I think
appreciate-
that's my biggest
interesting.
answer.
Yeah, that's interesting to think about because again, at the end of the day, as much as these AIs are working to personalize and humanize themselves, no matter what it is, you're still talking to a computer. I think there's a place for AI in a lot of places, and maybe there's a place for AI and maybe people that are seeking out reasons to go to therapy, or maybe understanding what therapy is and how it can help them, or what. Again, I'm not going to speak to everybody's reasoning for using it, but in terms of replacement, I think that's where I maybe draw the line of like, I don't think you can replace trained professionals for a lot of purposes. I think that there are places where AI can be of help to certain professionals, right? I'll go back to I don't know why I keep going back to this radiology thing, but I think there are certain places where you can help a radiologist maybe see patterns or trends that maybe they wouldn't see immediately, that would take them a little bit longer. Again, it doesn't matter.
But that sounds like a tool that radiologists can use versus
Replacement.
being a radiologist instead of radiologist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. As we think about my line of work, the growing body of literature that's out there about nutrition and physiology across species, I think that there's absolutely an opportunity to use AI to help to summarize and clean that up a little bit. One of the places that I have used AI that I think is a really cool place to use it is in the analysis of huge data sets that you're incapable of looking at without extra help and extra tools. AI can be a great tool
to make people more efficient at the things that they have to do, not to take over.
Right.
Yeah. And I think in therapy, I'm sure there will be lots of ways it can be used to help therapists, but becoming the therapist, I just don't think that's a safe or effective thing.
I still think there's job security there for you.
I think I'm gonna be okay.
I think you're in a good place. So.
I agree with that.
Anyway, that's a good question. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a thought-provoking question, and it's one that I think that a lot of people are thinking about, even in terms of their own careers. I know that there's angst that people have about their, oh my God, am I going to be replaced by a computer? I mean, but Elon Musk said something recently about the fact that AI was going to take over some percentage of jobs. And I don't remember what it was, but it was a very large percentage. That's scary, right? When you think about how many people that is out of work or what have you. So it's a great question, great area of conversation. And if there's anybody that is an expert on AI or has more experience using AI and, either in a positive or in a not positive direction, would love to hear some feedback.
How can they find us, Bobby?
Well, you can find us on Instagram at Man Up Together Podcast. We can send us questions at questions@manuptogetherpodcast.com. Wherever you listen to your podcast. If you watch it on YouTube, please make sure to comment on YouTube.
Also, remember to subscribe.
Please subscribe on whatever platform you're looking at. And really appreciate those of you who are spending the time to man up together with us.
For sure. Yes. Thank you so much. And so we will look forward to seeing you next week when we continue to try Man Up Together. The Man Up Together podcast was produced and edited by Alex Peskin and Bobby Jacobs. Special thank you to our wives, family, friends, and coworkers who have supported us in so many ways throughout this process. You can find us on Instagram at Man Up Together Podcast, and you can email us at questions@manuptogetherpodcast.com. If you are interested in joining us on this journey, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone you care about. Thank you for listening. See you next week.